Hi, everyone. It's Allie at Heart and Soul Connected, and thanks for being back with me today while I want to discuss the Mandela Effect and how that effect has played itself out in our collective unconscious. And I want to thank everybody, my new subscribers, for coming over and liking and subscribing these videos and joining as being subscribers on my channel. And I want you to know that if you're interested in knowing about memberships, click the join button on my front page of my channel. And it doesn't immediately make you join. It just gives you the options if you're interested. So check out the perks that are available to you and let me know if you have any questions. All right. So today, again, I want to speak about the Mandela Effect, or Mandela. Actually, it's not a mandala like the round thing with that the Buddhists make. This is Mandela, named after Nelson Mandela. And it is a fascinating topic. And you will probably agree that you have had a particular situation where you'll see in the news that so-and-so has just passed away. You see the obituary notice and you say, what? I thought they died a long time ago. I thought they'd already left the planet. Now I'm really confused. And so I want to talk about this because it really is quite a phenomenon. And I almost wonder in my own mind whether this has to do with alternative reality theory or parallel universes, which is a really interesting quantum physics discussion, of which I'm not a scientist, but I will try to add to that discussion as well. So it's become fascinating in popular culture, and it sparks intense debate and curiosity about what our memories are and what reality truly is. Because what we believe is real can color our reality of what our perceptions are and how we feel about something. And this is why it's so important for us to learn about growth mindset. And growth mindset is something that says we do not have to stay stuck in our mindset that we have had from the very beginnings of our lives or our education, and not be open to learning about other possibility. However, when that possibility gets triggered and tips over, we do see that there can be very many people that get caught up in this. Is this like propaganda? Well, it could be in some regard. You could say, well, if enough people believe in something, then there are a whole bunch of people that believe in it, and it is a reality to them in some cases. This can happen in the political arena. In this case, I want to talk more about how it has happened to us in popular culture, not just from the politics or anything about that, but more from the idea that we can be convinced of things if we don't ask questions and if we don't open ourselves up to possibility and how it might play out. So it all started in about 1980s with Nelson Mandela, who was the former president of South Africa, and they believed he died in prison. Well, imagine their surprise when in 1990 he is released from prison and becomes the president of South Africa in 1994. Wow. So he doesn't die in the 80s. He dies in 2013. And a lot of people were really shocked and confused to learn once again in their mind that Nelson Mandela had passed. This is why they coined the term Mandela Effect, and it describes shared experiences of misremembering the past or facts that had happened in the past. And I love it because if you can get somebody to agree with you that this actually did happen, can you imagine the power that that person might have in a lot of venues? One of the challenges of understanding the effect is figuring out why so many people believe in these false memories. But remember, if you're looking into Jung and his idea of the collective unconscious, there's a lot of people who have a lot of beliefs about a lot of things. And if you get enough people believing in something, the paradigm will tip. It will tip over and people will start believing it is reality. The same thing happens in Malcolm. I can't remember his last name. Malcolm, his book, The Tipping Point, where he talks about how everybody thought that white suede shoes, or bucks as they were called, were the ugliest thing in the world and would never be sold anywhere. That was until Pat Boone, one of the singers of the time, started to wear these white bucks, and the whole industry in white bucks bloomed. So it doesn't matter. Anytime there's a time where things have elevated and escalated to a certain point, we will get a bunch of people or a large amount of people who will believe in that particular thing, either being important to them or being true. So there you go with that. Take, for example, also the Berenstain Bears, a children's book series. A lot of people recall a name being spelled Berenstein, like Berenstein, instead of Berenstain. Another example is the movie Shazam, starring Sinbad as a genie. Many people claim to have watched this movie, but it doesn't actually exist. These instances highlight how widespread and convincing these true-false memories can really be. And there's a host of them. We didn't see this prior to 1980s, but at the same time, we didn't have the internet out there, and we did not have a lot of people who would read different styles and different types of articles. We really had a limit on our news, and a limit on how that news was disseminated, and a limit on what it is that we read or were interested in. So it wasn't permeating the culture through social media, of course. The psychology behind the Mandela Effect, though, is very, very complex. And I'm not a psychologist, but I still believe I have a handle on what this means. It involves concepts like collective memory and what they call confabulation. And confabulation is gaps in memory are filled with fabrications that we believe to be true. However, they aren't true. And a lot of this was debunked. People debunked this in false memory as well, of young children believing after being hypnotized that they had been abused in some way. And so false memory can fabricate or alter memories without any conscious intent. And this, again, has come to pass since this period of time. So it's just fascinating that we have the ability to sort of bend the brain at will by these false memories or false conscious / unconscious ideas in how we move things. So it can lead to a creation of false memories like the ones associated with Nelson Mandela and others. And if anyone hears about the Mandela Effect and recalls a related event, their brain may start to fill in the details. And I agree. I think sometimes I remember reading something that to me really made a lot of sense. And maybe most of what I have remembered is correct, but there might be something very small that isn't. A date, or a time, or a thing, or even a person that perhaps was confused by another one because of either how they looked or what they had done in their past as well. Theories also suggest that, of course, the internet plays a role in spreading and reinforcing false memories and non-true information. There are people who really love to engender responses from people because what they say is outrageous and full of lies. However, once repeating a lie over and over and over again, it eventually becomes embedded in the mind and becomes a truth to that group of people. So you can see that sometimes we are what they call brains in a vat. In other words, we are a victim of our memories and our brain's understanding of them. When we're exposed to information from others, our brain can incorporate it into our own memories, and it's hard to tell what's real or not. And this I liken to when I was a child. My father took movies of my family and I. And although they had no voice in them, you watched the images, and you grew up watching the images whenever those movies were replayed. And so now when I think back to my childhood, I have to ask myself, was that me remembering it or the movie showing it to me? Because I really totally believe we can all fall into these false identifications or these false memories. It can create a memory echo chamber where everything is repeated and eventually amplified, and eventually becomes a part of one's mindset in many cases. This is why propaganda is so dangerous. This is why lying to the public is so anathema to the ability for us to discern the truth. We aren't thinking for ourselves. We're being told how to think in a lot of ways. And that's the last thing that we should be. Anything that we are given needs to be discerned on our level of understanding and employed in the way we wish to employ that information, not someone else's idea of that information. So the other interesting instance of Mandela effect is the change in the color of Mona Lisa's smile. And many people would be surprised to know that the picture of Mona Lisa, which we have seen so many times over and over in our lifetimes, is actually very small. It takes up very little space on the wall at the Louvre. But the color of her smile, really? Some people claim that the painting used to show a more vibrant, wider smile, while others remember it as being more subtle and more enigmatic as it appears today. But it's not been changed. It's not been changed, at least not in the reality we know of. Another example is the movie Jaws. Some people recall a scene with a character named Shirley or a different character in a key role. This is how it can be both captivating and unsettling for us. Some of the other ideas, in 2009, a first discussion of mass false memories appeared in online forums, which is very interesting because that's when we started to see the escalation of internet visibility and ability to talk about these items. Mandela Effect in 2016 becomes widely known term online and in media. And many, many more ongoing discoveries of new examples have continued to be found, offering us growing interest in what our memories and what our perceptions are of something. We also have a thing called schema theory in psychology. And schema theory is we all have differing schemas, SCHEMAS. And these are things that we have that are personal to us that we have learned over time. We have learned our memories with our family, with our friends, growing up, what we learned in high school, what we learned in college, what we learned by reading this book, that book, what we learned about delving into a new topic, conversations, movies you've seen, books you've read, etc., etc. And all of these things contribute to the knowledge that we, in fact, remember and espouse. And we all have different schemas. And this is why sometimes you can't argue with somebody about something. They have made up their mind. They believe in what they believe. And their mindset is not growth mindset, but fixed mindset. It means they can't move beyond what it is that they believe is true. And they're being reinforced over and over again because when they bring it up, it reinforces their belief system, making it very difficult for them to be open and willing to look at another belief system. And this is key to growth mindset. And so some of the other examples I just want to pass along, and you can let me know if you can come up with any, was in Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader actually says, no, I am your father, not Luke, I am your father. Many people believe that the Monopoly mascot, the Monopoly man, wears a monocle, but he never did, and he still doesn't. The Fruit of the Loom logo, some people remember it having a cornucopia or a horn of plenty on it behind the fruit, but it never did. However, we did watch an advertisement where men dressed up as grapes and bananas and other things. So is this what they're talking about? And they think that it actually is on the Fruit of the Loom logo? Many, many others. It's also, there are fringe theories out there that these differences are different in parallel universes or alternative timelines through scientific explanations focusing on the quirks of cognitive bias and human memory. Let's see. Let me give you a couple more. Remember the evil queen in Snow White saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" She actually said, "Magic mirror on the wall." Curious George. Many people remember Curious George, the cartoon monkey, having a tail. He never did. One that you could see anyway. How about Febreze, the nice spray or the nice dryer sheets that you can throw into your dryer? Many people felt that it had two, like a breeze, Febreeze, but it doesn't. It only has one E. It's Febreze. Looney Tunes, Tunes, versus Looney Tunes, Toons. Many remember it as tunes, like cartoons, but it's really Looney Tunes, referencing musical tunes. Did you ever eat a Kit Kat? Is it hyphenated? The truth is, no, it's never been hyphenated. KIT, capital KIKAT, is the way it's done. There's no hyphen in there. Remember Queen's song, We Are the Champions? I know you've heard it. Many people think that it ends with Of the World, but in the truth, it doesn't occur at the end. It ends with We Are the Champions. However, in many concerts that were done by Queen, there are alternative changes in the songs. So we can take those memories and really argue with people about them, because we really know we're right. We know we're right. We know you're wrong. How about Mr. Rogers? If you didn't watch him, at least your children might have. Remember the opening line as this? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, guess what? It's not. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, is what the real words are. So again, there's a whole bunch of misremembered facts, and they will only continue, because this is going to be something that people will misremember whatever it is, or remembering the lyrics to a song and wondering why we didn't ever understand what those lyrics were. Because once we found out, once they were put on the internet and we read them, we said, oh, all this time I thought it was this. Cultural reinforcement really also reinforces these incorrect memories in us. So all you need to do is, before you start to argue about something, try to look and see whether or not you're right. And we have a whole plethora of places in which you can do that. It's a fascinating topic. And you have to wonder if there really is a parallel universe or an alternative reality that bleeds into our reality, that causes timeline shifts, that causes things to change. Maybe they're just screwing around with us. What do you think? Thanks, everybody. Much love to you. Bye-bye.